Well boys, today we're going to build something cool. So today we're going to stick all of this stuff into that rear end in hopes that it's going to take everything I'm going to throw at it, which we're shooting for 1,000 to 1,200 wheel horsepower. And this is the best I can afford, so hopefully it works. What we've got, this all came from Quick Performance. What we have is 35 spline axles with 3-inch long by 1/2-inch studs. Aluminum center section. We went with a billet yoke. It's got 370 gears and a spool. It is aluminum, so it's much lighter. I've got a Ford Explorer disc brake setup with the e-brake shoes inside. Now, I want this truck to be as legal as possible. I do plan on driving on the street. I don't want to have any issues, and I mean, God forbid my brakes ever go out. I really want to have a mechanical backup. So the brake shoes, like the e-brake, I wanted. So that's what I got. Originally I was going to do the Willwood setup. Willwood sells a rear disc brake setup with an e-brake assembly inside. But then on Quick Performance's website, I came across their Explorer disc brake setup for a Ford 9-inch. And it was cheaper, so I ended up going that route. And it even comes with all the e-brake cables. So I feel like a lot of the, with the e-brake cables, a lot of the legwork has been done for me as far as sourcing it out. So hopefully it all goes together pretty simple. I'm also throwing ARP bolts in to hold the center section in. I knocked out all the old studs that have been in there for 50 years, and we're just going to put some new hardware in there. Now, this whole axle, it came out of it was an early 70s Ford Ranchero, and I don't think the thing had ever been removed. I had to remove a lot of rust. We basically had to cut the rear end out of the truck. I did not shorten it, so it is full width. Now, when you're throwing a lot of horsepower at a wide rear end, it wants to flex. It wants to flex this sucker. So I took the rear end to a local fab shop, like a chassis guy, and he welded in a back brace on it. He did an amazing job, and he straightened the whole rear end. I don't care how good you are not putting a back brace on a 9-inch without it pulling and distorting. You need to put it on a jig. You need to make sure it's straight. I don't have a jig. I'm not spending $600 on a jig to use once. So I took it to a fab guy, and he did it all for me, and he did a great job. So I already painted it, so it's ready to go. But before we get started, here's the old crap that came out of it. We're talking, if you see the amount of crud that is on this thing, it saw all of the 50 years of crud and road abuse and grime that a rear end could see. And these are 28 spline axles that were in it, and for comparison's sake, you put a 35 spline up beside a 28, there's your difference. I mean, when you look at how they tapered these things down right from factory, it pretty much gets to the same width this guy's at. But at the end, it bottlenecks down again. So I guess Ford was hoping when they did this, I mean, just about every manufacturer does this, as they get, some are like 31 spline, but for the most part, most vehicles are 28. So if any part's going to break, it'll be the axle. I mean, they're easy enough to change. I don't want anything breaking. The other thing I want to compare is the weight of this guy. This old cast iron, this was a 270 gear. I want to compare the weight of that guy to this all aluminum one. So I've got my scale hanging here from my crane, and we're going to see what the weight difference is. I'm kind of curious. The price, it's really not much more expensive to go with an aluminum one over a cast iron or a nodular iron or whatever you want to call it. We're talking just a few $100, but I know just even carrying it around the shop here, big difference. So let's see what the difference really is. Start with the old cast iron one. £71. Let's see if I can get it off. And here's the new one. $55, $56. There you go, 15-pound difference. I'm not gonna lie, it feels like a larger difference than that, but 15 pounds. Tell you what, I'm sweating just moving these things around. You know what, it's worth spending the extra couple $100 just to not have to deal with carrying that stupid thing around, because it's hurts the hands, and you definitely can tell a difference in the weight. So just having to manhandle it around, it's nicer dealing with this one. All right, so first step is I got to get the new hardware in, and yeah, start slapping it together. Okay, well, I fought with this a lot more than I thought I was going to. I looked at this brake kit and I thought this was going to be a breeze. And I was a little cocky going into it. Well, I was humbled by it because this has been terrible. The way this is set up is, you know, you've got your axle, here's your bearing. It's got this spacer ring that has to sit like that, and then the retainer plate pushes against that. So you gotta feed both of these things in there. As you're sliding the axle in, they have to go in behind the faceplate here, inside the brake area, the brake shoe area. Now, the further you slide the axle in, the less room you have to get your fingers in there. And it's not until you get almost to the point where you can't get your fingers in, do the bolts protrude through the holes. You know, the bolts are only so long. These aren't the same bolts, but they're only so long. So to be able to get a nut in, you got to slide this far enough in. So I had a real hard time getting my fingers in there and getting everything in place and getting a nut on. But I got it done. Then the issue came into play where the back of the studs are hitting the springs for the brake shoes. I'll show you. It's hard for me to get a good angle to show you. See that black spring in there? The studs just hit it. So I called Quick Performance today and told them what was going on, and it sounds like they've heard this before. So what they recommended to me was there's two springs on that side, on the inside and the outside of the brake shoes. And they say you can pretty much remove the outside spring if it's coming into contact with the studs. And it should be fine. So they said this kit is very similar to the Willwood set. Willwood makes a kit very similar to this with the brake shoes inside the rotor for the e-brake assembly. And it's the same problem. So I'm gonna just pull that spring off and see how the shoes sit, because they said even with one spring it should have enough tension to retract the shoes after you've used the emergency brake. So I'm gonna pull the spring off now, make sure the shoes don't kind of kick to one side, and hopefully that fixes the issue, because I don't want to have to take this apart again. So I'm gonna bust it out now. Okay, I got the spring out and nothing moved, nothing changed, so that's good. But one thing I noticed now, the lever that the cable attaches to, look how close. Look how close it is to the stud. It doesn't hit. And because it doesn't hit, I'm gonna leave it. Now there might be a little bit, the slightest little bit of movement in that lever, but when I pull the lever it actually moves away from the stud a bit. But I mean, if it touches it, eventually it'll self-clearance. So I'm not gonna bother moving it. And the final thing I came across was the rotors. These rotors that came with this kit did not fit over the axle. So the hole in the middle did not fit over the center of the axle. So I actually had to take these to a machine shop and they put it on their lathe, and I had to get them to turn a few millimeters out just so it would fit. But now, I can do this with one hand. Now she fits. So now throw the rotor or the caliper on, and this side will be done. Well guys, there you have it. That's the finished product. Got this side all assembled. They put up just as much fight as the other side, to be honest. And that thing should be able to take everything I'm gonna throw at it. So we're talking 1,000+ horsepower. And I mean, this thing looks beautiful too. I love the fact that I changed out all the hardware. Just looks so good. Everything looks good. I love it. I love it. Now the e-brake cables that came with it, I'll be obviously putting in once it's installed, once I get the rear end in the truck and I get further along with this project. I'm not too concerned about getting the e-brake cables in right now. But yeah, that's it for the 9-inch. Like I said, everything came from Quick Performance, minus the housing. The housing I already had. And then I'm talking about everything inside it came from Quick Performance. The back brace just came from Amazon, and in case you're wondering, the 4-link brackets, that's all from Bear's Performance. But that's it for this video. Till next time.